Hello, welcome to the European Open briefing for Wednesday, May the 17th. I'm Rafi Boyajan, currency analyst at xm.com, and we're going to be looking at what's happening in the currency markets today. So the main headline this morning is what's happening in the United States with the US President Donald Trump following fresh accusations that he apparently asked the FBI Director James Comey, who he had sacked a few days ago, to stop the FBI investigation into the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who was forced to resign just a few weeks into his job. And that's raised fresh uncertainty about Trump's presidency. So it not only adds to the risk of potential impeachment, but it also casts doubt over his economic agenda, which until recently had helped markets rally. And all of this has given rise to gold. It's up to two-week high today. The euro is also partially benefiting from the risk aversion or the weaker dollar, but also on the improving outlook for the eurozone economy as well. The euro is back above the 1.11 level against the dollar. The pound has been fluctuating a little bit since that inflation data out of the UK yesterday, which was quite strong. The pound initially jumped higher, but it soon fell back before recovering those losses as the stronger than expected inflation data now markets seen as doing little to change the Bank of England's outlook for UK inflation. But let's begin with the dollar. Here in the chart in purple, we can see the dollar index has now dropped to a 6-month low of 97.86. It's currently trading just about 97.90, and this means that the dollar has now fully erased all of its post-election gains. The dollar against the yen, although it is down, it's not too dramatically lower. It's still managing to hold above the 112 level, at least for now, although that is a 1.5 week low. Of course, we do still have a more than 50% chance that in June the Fed will raise rates. We had a bigger than expected rise in US industrial output yesterday in April, and we saw manufacturing output rise by the most in 3 years. Although housing data was disappointing, we saw both building permits and housing starts drop back in April, which was against expectations, so that it also hurt sentiment against the dollar. But the main impact, though, on the dollar is what's happening with that with the FBI director, who apparently in his memos said that Donald Trump had asked him to halt the investigation into Michael Flynn's alleged links with Russia, and it follows investigation into his own campaign team, that his campaign colluded with Russian officials during the election period last year. So all of this is hurting sentiment against the US dollar. And moving on to gold now, we can see gold hit a two-week high, $1,244.70 an ounce a short while ago, and the yen is up against all major currencies this morning. The Swiss franc is also doing well, and mainly because all of this casts doubt over Trump's tax plans, and also has raised talk of President Trump possibly getting impeached as well. And the euro, though, does appear to be benefiting from the dollar falling out of favor. The euro hit another 6 months high, hitting 1.1122. It rose to a 7-week high against sterling at 0.8615, and a 13 months high of 125.80 against the yen. Though that was yesterday, today the euro is lower against the yen, given the yen's rise on that safe haven demand from Trump uncertainty. We had the second estimate of Eurozone GDP data yesterday, which was confirmed at 0.5% quarter on quarter. That shows the Eurozone economy continues to grow at a decent enough pace. And the German's EU Economic Sentiment Index, that's a closely watched business confidence survey in Germany. It rose to a near two-year high in May, suggesting that the German economy continues to grow strongly at the start of the second quarter. The pound, though, we saw was a bit volatile yesterday. It initially spiked up after UK inflation rose much more strongly than expected in April. Consumer prices in the UK were up 2.7% year on year in April. That's up from 2.3% in March and above expectations of 2.6%. Core inflation was also sharply up as well. But then we saw inflation. We saw the pound falling back sharply soon after that data. It fell as low as 1.2864. It's bounced back this morning. It's back above the 1.29 level. As investors see that data doing little to change the Bank of England's outlook, which only last week the Bank of England in its latest quarterly projections said that UK inflation will peak at just below 3%, even with rates staying on hold at the current level of 0.25%. So the focus now moves on to the UK unemployment data that's due later today. Let's have a quick look at the Aussie and the Kiwi, because the Aussie, after 5 days of solid gains, it's back down this morning. We had wage growth data out of Australia. It was up 1.9% year on year during the first quarter. That's actually the lowest on record for Australia, and it paints a gloomy picture for inflationary pressures in Australia. We also had consumer confidence data from Westpac, which showed its index falling further in negative territory in May. So we're seeing the Aussie coming under pressure. It briefly fell below 0.74 against the US dollar. It's currently trading just above that level. The Kiwi, though, it got a bit of a boost from the dairy auction yesterday, the bi-weekly global dairy auction, which we saw dairy prices rising by 3.2%, and that helped the Kiwi to briefly jump above the 0.69 level earlier today, although it's currently trading just below the 0.69 level. And before we go, let's see what's happening with oil prices, because we saw oil prices fall back a bit yesterday after the American Petroleum's weekly data showed that US oil inventories actually rose by 882,000 barrels in the week ending May the 12th. The official data from the Energy Information Agency is due out later today, so that will be watched too. But overall, we're seeing oil still getting support on those expectations that OPEC and some non-OPEC countries will agree to extend the output deal till the end of March 2018. We did have some machinery orders data out of Japan earlier today. Those were bigger than expected, although overall we are seeing that the Japanese economy is not doing too badly. We've got first quarter growth data out of Japan coming up tomorrow as well. We also saw industrial output revised figures being revised up from -2.1 to -1.9%. We've got the UK employment data coming up shortly, as well as the final Eurozone inflation numbers for April. But it's going to be a quiet US session with only Canadian manufacturing data to be released. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.